What's going on YouTube? Today we're in beautiful San Diego sampling the all-new 2023 Honda Accord.
And we want to know, is this the best midsize sedan money can buy?
We're gonna find out right now. So a signature thing we like to do at Car Confections is break down the trims and features. Since it is so different with this new generation versus the previous generation, and it has to do with under the hood, we're gonna start out with that. So with the all new Honda Accord, you have two different powertrains. You do have a 1.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder engine, still making 192 horsepower, 192 pound-feet of torque, but that is only on the EX and the LX trim level. All the rest of the trim levels, which starts at the Sport and goes all the way up to the Touring, that's gonna come with Honda's new hybrid system as the only engine choice. This is the 4th generation 2-motor Honda hybrid system. It combines a 2-liter 4-cylinder with 2 electric motors. Total system output, 204 horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque.
All models are going to be front-wheel drive only, and your fuel economy is going to be pretty impressive. 46 city, 41 highway, 44 combined for the higher-end models, or up to 48 mpg with the EXL.
But that's really it for the spec dump. Let's go ahead and close up the hood and take a look at the exterior. So here at the exterior, the mature and sophisticated theme we've seen proliferating throughout the Honda lineup has now come to the Accord as well. And like most people as they get more mature, it's also gotten grumpier. As you can see, the grille itself kind of has a scowl on its face. But that aspect notwithstanding here, the grille itself is going to be a lot smaller than before. If you remember, the previous generation actually went all the way down to the bottom. Now we have two distinct sections. So we have an upper, it's always going to be finished in this black mesh on every single trim level. And then we've got the lower fascia, which is also going to be mostly black across all the trim levels, except for one detail. That's right here. Just the Touring trim level will come with this silver accent. But now that I'm down here on my hands and knees, I might as well go ahead and point out that there are no longer LED fog lamps on any of the trim levels for this new generation. Now, speaking of the broader lighting, we do have advanced full LED headlights, and that's standard on every single trim level. As you can see, the low beam is going to be the outside and inside edges. The high beam is right there in the middle. And then we've got a nice daytime running light and LED turn signal indicator up top. Now, as we head around to the rear, again, we're going to see kind of a classier, more sophisticated look than before. It's nice and smooth. Everything looks pretty refined.
Yeah, I really like the way it looks, especially here in person. And as far as some of the design elements, let's break those down. Now, for the Touring, it's going to be a little bit more bland than if you go for the Sport models. That's going to add a blacked out lip spoiler up top, which I think looks a little bit better. And our taillights are going to have a completely new design this year. And Drew's going to hop inside and see if all three elements are LED. Of course, that's important to anyone buying a car now. Okay, we have an LED brake light, LED reverse light, and also an LED amber turn signal. 3 out of 3 Honda, perfect, good job on that. A lot in this segment do not give you the full LED taillights unless you get the higher end model, so Honda's including that on all of them. I also really like the way this looks. You have an accent that goes all the way through the middle. It's going to be blacked out here in the middle regardless of what exterior color you choose. And then dropping down to your lower diffuser area, no exposed exhaust on any version of this all-new Accord, which I kind of do miss from the previous gen, but you do have a nice black accent down here.
Let's also talk about the wheel options. You do have a ton of different choices. Pretty much every single trim level has a different design or finish to them. Lower models are going to come with 17-inch alloy wheels. However, the Sport, Sport L, and Touring trim levels, those come with the 19-inch alloy wheels. Again, with different finishes, but here on the Touring, we've got the contrast finish. This is probably my favorite design as far as the wheels are concerned, because I do like that contrast look. It looks really good with have the little spokes that go in, and most of it is still gloss black. Now, coming up to our mirrors, all but the base LX trim level will come standard with blind spot monitoring. The EXL and above has heating, and if you choose one of the Sport trim levels, that's going to get you a blacked out finish on top of the mirrors.
Well, Honda must think that size definitely matters, because on all of their recent models, and including this Honda Accord, you're going to have an increase in length. It's actually going to be about 2.8 inches longer than the previous generation Accord, coming in at a grand total of 195.7 inches in length. That does mean that it's quite a bit larger than a lot of its main competition. Now, as far as some of the design elements, you do have a really strong body line going all the way through it, once again giving it that mature and classy look. We also have chrome on the upper part of the window surrounds, black on the lower element, and if you go for the Sport L, it's going to be fully blacked out. But guys, I need to talk about the safety systems for this all-new Accord because that's pretty much a bright spot for this car. They're going to be including every single one of your main active safety systems as standard, and that does also include a traffic jam assist. Now, one thing worth pointing out is that the Touring model will throw in low speed front and rear auto braking, so that's a little bit of an extra tidbit you get for going for this fully loaded model. But guys, there's a really luxurious cabin that I can't wait to show you on the inside that has a really cool new tech piece. So let's go ahead and check that out.
All right, so let's go ahead and get inside here. First off, let's take a look at the key. This is the typical Honda key. It's been kind of downsized recently, kind of pebble-like as well. And one of the things I'm really happy about is that smart entry and remote start standard on every single version, even the base LX trim level. Now to hop inside, of course, just reach behind the handle. That's going to unlock the door. And welcome into the next generation of the interior. Let's start off by talking about interior material and color choices. So your LX through the Sport trim level will come with cloth seating. As you can see, that is what we have on this Sport trim level. It's a nice material. It's got kind of some stitching details in here. Feels overall nice and durable with the stitching details on the side and the bolsters as well. And then if you choose on the upper end trim levels, that will get you real leather, including the Sport L, which is basically the primary thing that model is going to be adding. Now, in terms of your color choices, most have the choice between black or gray. Just the Sport trim levels are black only. Down below, all but the base model will come with a 10-way power adjusting seat, and that's going to be 2-way lumbar support. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now, like we said throughout this video, Sport is one of the more affordable trim levels. It's also one of the most popular trim levels. In the Civic, it makes up something like 40% of sales. So Sport trim is very important to this next generation Accord. So is the cabin a lot cheaper than the Touring model? I'm happy to say it is not. So let's look around at the materials. We'll start with the door trim. Over here, you'll notice we still have the leatherette that runs all through here with the stitching detail. It's also going to be covering the entire center section. The top is going to be a soft touch plastic as well, and we still have the 2 fully automatic windows. Now, as we go up to the upper dashboard, again, it's going to be finished in the same soft touch plastic as the Touring trim level. We have a leatherette that goes through here and through here with the stitching detail. Some piano black trim is going to be down here in the center section, and the only thing I'm noticing different from the Touring trim level in here really is the fact that this is not going to be padded with leather. It's going to be a hard touch plastic. It's actually going to be that way in all of the trim levels except the Touring. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and fire it up with the standard push button start. But let's go ahead and move into a first-person perspective and take a detailed look at all the individual features inside of the cabin. We're going to start off with our gauge cluster. This is something I really want to highlight with this next generation Accord because just a couple weeks ago we were driving the new Honda Pilot, and that model has this digital gauge cluster on just the Elite trim level. That's not the case with this new Accord. This is actually standard on every single version. Even the base LX gets the 10.2-inch digital gauge cluster. I definitely like that. Certain elements of this are customizable, so when you change your drive modes, you will see that adjust. And that little car there in the middle does also light up with your brake lights, your turn signal, all the things that are going on inside the vehicle itself. Now, in addition to that, if you want the most advanced technology, you're going to want to go up to the Touring trim level. That is going to throw in a 6-inch head-up display, which does include things like your navigation instructions. Now, coming back here, we do have rain-sensing wipers also on the Touring trim level. And taking a look at our steering wheel, it is going to be the newest Honda design, nicely leather wrapped on the Sport trim level and above. Of course, it's going to be manual tilt and telescoping. Heating is actually not available on any version of this Accord, at least here in the US. But let's go ahead and head into interior storage, because that is one of the strongest areas of the previous generation. And overall, this console arrangement looks actually pretty similar to the outgoing model. So when I open that up, I'm not surprised to find a lot of storage, just like the old model. We do have a little texture down there at the bottom, plenty of space, and you know, we had to bring our coupons along. Even though we're in California, we did bring them along. Actually, we need them more since everything's more expensive out here. And as you can see, they fit in there absolutely no problem. You've got a 12-volt outlet inside. Got your 2 squared off cup holders. And then up here in the very front, we've got a very large cubby. This has 2 USB Type-C ports. And if you choose the top-end Touring, you also get the large wireless phone charging pad. Now pulling back to the shifter, this is very similar to the outgoing generation. Physical version, you're just going to pull back for drive. You do have paddle shifters up here on the steering wheel, but on the hybrid models, this is going to control the regen, not a shift. Heading into reverse, you'll see the standard backup camera up here. You actually do not have a 360 option on any version of this new Accord. Some of the rivals definitely offer that. However, if you choose the EXL or the Touring trim levels, those will include both front and rear parking sensors. You also have a couple extra angles you can choose from right there. And the mirrors do tilt down and reverse to help you see the parking lines better. And then back behind the shifter, you get your drive mode controller, and you also have a standard electronic parking brake with brake hold. Now rising on up, all but the base LX will come with dual zone automatic climate control. It does have those same nice clicky buttons as the last generation. And integrated right in here, we also have 3-stage heated seats. That's going to be included on all but the LX and the Sport trim level. And if you want 3-stage seat ventilation, you can choose that, but you'll have to get the top-end Touring. But let's rise on up here and take a listen to one of the big improvements for this new generation. The top-end Touring trim level now comes with a 12-speaker Bose sound system. So let's hear if it's any good. Oh yeah, that's definitely pretty nice. Really fills up the cabin well. A lot of bass with this system, and just a huge, huge improvement over the previous sound system in the Touring trim level. All right, so let's start to talk about another really big improvement with the new generation, and that's the technology. So you're probably noticing this is a pretty large screen. That's because it is a 12.3-inch display. This is the largest display Honda has ever put in any vehicle, and that includes the all-new Honda Pilot. Now, to be fair, there will still be 2 sizes. So the standard one is going to be 7 inches, but that is only on your lowest 2 trim levels. Once you get to the Sport trim level, which the vast majority of people will choose, going up from there is going to get you the 12.3-inch display. Now, in addition to that, what's important about this system is that when you choose the Touring model, you've got the new Google software. So this is basically Android Automotive OS, and with that, you're going to have quite a bit of improvements. So first of all, performance, really quick, really snappy. It was very easy to pair my phone. All that stuff is going to work really well. Additionally, that means it's also going to have built-in Google apps. So you'll notice right here in the system, without going into Android Auto, anything like that, you do still have Google Maps, the Google Play Store, stuff like that. You also have the Google Assistant, which is pretty cool to have built right in. Now, if you have an Apple phone or you still want to use Android Auto, both those things are still going to be available to you to use, and they run wirelessly with this next generation of console. The 7-inch display does also have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but they are wired. Now, rising on up, auto-dimming mirror on the EXL and the Touring trim level. No HomeLink universal remotes, though. We do have nice LED lighting. And then up here at the top, we have a standard sunroof on all but the base LX. I definitely like that aspect that most of the trim levels have this, but what I don't like is the fact that a panoramic sunroof is not available on even the top-end Touring trim level. Most of this vehicle's competitors do offer a panoramic sunroof.
Well guys, I'm as happy as a clam in the rear seat of this all-new Honda Accord. There is so much space. The Accord is big, like I mentioned on the outside, and Honda just keeps getting it bigger and bigger, and that's going to mean you have even more legroom. 0.4 inches more of legroom for this all-new generation. That means we're sitting at 40.8 inches of legroom, 37.3 inches of headroom. That means it also bests, I think, everything in the entire segment. I think this is the biggest midsize sedan you can buy. Now, I did bring my ruler with me all the way to California to see this space between my knees and the seat back. We're sitting at 10 inches. Massive figures, guys. That's a big boy. Now, as far as some of the features are concerned, here in the center, we are going to have vents on this model. Down below that, we also have 2 charging USBs. They're USB Type-C variety. If we fold this center armrest down, it's going to be a nice elongated center armrest, 2 cup holders inside. Let's turn to the door trim. The door trim is going to be a nice soft touch plastic, so they didn't cheap out on the materials in the back. We have a leatherette going through the middle part, which I am a big fan of, leather armrest portion, and then up in front of that, you're going to notice this. We actually have 3-stage heated rear seats on this touring model. So you do have to get that top-end touring to have sweaty crack for the heated rear seats, but that is actually a really nice feature to have because most in the segment have fully eliminated that on any of the models, even the fully loaded ones. Then in the very bottom, we're going to have a bottle storage. Now let's go ahead and check out the Accord's all-new trunk. So if you push the button to open it up, you will notice it's really nicely dampened. It even has like kind of a soft close function once it gets to the top. And you can probably guess what's going on here as well. You're going to have a lot of space. 16.7 cubic feet to be exact. So you're going to have a class-leading cargo figure. As you can see, there is tons of room back here. Now, one thing you're probably curious about knowing is, does the hybrid powertrain that we mentioned at the spec dump actually impede on any of the cargo capacity? The answer to that is no. So going for the hybrid does not cost you anything in terms of your cargo capacity. Now, as far as some of the finishings, there's no lighting. We also do not have a spare tire on this Accord model, and the seats do fold 60-40 split, so you just grab these little levers here, and then you will have to walk up to the front up here to actually fold the seat itself down. And there you go. Once the seat belt unlocks, you can fold it relatively flat. You are going to have a little bit of a hump here, though.
Now, earlier in the video, you heard me say that the hybrid system is the only engine option for the majority of trim levels. That does indeed mean that the previous 2-liter turbo engine is gone. So you don't have that higher horsepower option anymore. They had already previously discontinued the manual a couple years before that. So, you know, you're gonna have some less enthusiastic options this year, but, you know, the hybrid system itself does have a good deal more power than the previous hybrid system.
Yeah, and it is about that time for us to talk about the pricing information for this all-new 2023 Honda Accord. So let's go ahead and dive into that. So like Drew said, a lot of the trim levels are coming standard with that hybrid, specifically the sport trims and higher. So if you want the hybrid system, you're going to start at $31,895 for that sport model. EXL is $33,540, Sport L $33,875, and this touring, as we have seen throughout today's video, $37,890. Now, if you want to go for those 2 base trims with the standard 1.5-liter motor, you're going to start out at $27,295 for the LX, $29,610 for the EX.
And that represents a pretty decent price increase over the previous base model. However, if you're looking at the top end, it's actually pretty much price parity with the previous 2-liter touring model. Now, we would love to take this out on the road, but you guys know how this works. We want to show you the latest content as soon as we can. So this today is just going to be the walk-around component. The test drive and in-depth impressions are under embargo until Tuesday, February 7th at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure you set your calendar. We're going to have that part 2 video with all the driving dynamics and characteristics of this new hybrid system, all broken down for you guys to see on that date. So make sure to come back and check that out.
And guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. It really helps us out. It helps get us invited to events like this where we can show you all some of the latest cars first. So please go ahead, do that. Also follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.